Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting. Envisioned Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. An affiliate of Direct Impact Broadcasting and Creative Broadcasting, presenting the EmPower Hour with Jaresha, a show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The EmPower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Welcome to EmPower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore. A little bit about myself. I am a best-selling author with over 18 years of combined experience in education, finance, healthcare, business management and development, owner and founder of EmPower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide leadership training and personal and professional coaching and consulting services. Certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, and owner of Envisioned Broadcasting radio station. So today's empowerment quote is, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that. Because what the world needs is people who are alive, by Howard Thurman. So some may say that this quote sounds a bit selfish, and I can definitely understand that. But I think it depends on how you look at it. So think about it this way. What makes you come alive? What makes you come alive is, in fact, what the world needs. So don't miss the key question that's stated. What makes you come alive? This question is so powerful because it asks you to think about and identify what I feel is your passion. Some of us spend years in a career or living a life where we're unhappy and unfulfilled. Most of us are truly going through the motions every day, and we are truly in a cycle of rinse and repeat, and not truly tapping into our potential. And so I asked myself this question, and so here's what I came up with. I love teaching and motivating, mentoring, speaking, creating, designing. I love singing, and of course, empowering others. Those are all the activities and processes that I feel make me come alive. And then entrepreneurship, intentional living, health and wellness, parenting are just a few of the topics that I know make me come alive. So here's my question for you today. What makes you come alive? Take some time today or maybe some time this week and be still and notice what's stirring inside of you. What makes you come alive? Think about this. What do you find yourself lost in, or what subject continually fascinates you? What are the topics, processes, and activities that truly light your fire? What are the things that make you pant with anticipation and then lose the time while you're doing them? Write them down because, I say you have to think on paper and then be intentional every day to make sure you're doing those things. So without further delay, I'm so excited to welcome my guest, Phillitia Charlton. Phillitia Charlton is a wife, mother, and educator, leader, author, life coach, and survivor. From 7 foster care placements to becoming the first principal of a dropout recovery alternative school to be named as National Urban School of Excellence before age 40. Phillitia Charlton has always been resilient and determined to make every moment count. During her tenure at a dropout recovery school, she and her team assisted over 500 students in achieving their goal of graduating from high school. While only 2% of children formerly in foster care earn a bachelor's degree or higher, Phillitia has a bachelor's of arts degree in public relations and a master of art degree in project management. She is also a certified teacher and administrator. Phillitia proudly received her principal licensure from the University of Dayton. Her work spans across several school districts and multiple universities. Phillithia's work has been recognized by the Rotary Club of Dayton, the National Center of Urban School Transformation, the Ohio Auditor of the State, and the National Urban League, and various colleges and community programs. Phillitia was honored as a rising star by the Westland Center Community Service organization she used to attend as a little girl. Phillithia's faith, along with her fundamental approach to facing and embracing the past, offers a message of deliverance and hope. Her debut title, The Death of a Lie, poetry collection is her honest and open poetic college diary. This collection is a unapologetic, unadulterated look at relationship experiences and transformation through poetry and storytelling. Phillithia's most recent achievement is receiving the Montgomery County 2019 Artist Opportunity Grant. This grant will assist her in taking The Death of a Life from the page to the stage. The stage play will premiere on November 16th. Welcome, Phillithia. I am so excited to have you on the show today. How are you this evening?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be with you today.
Absolutely. So I just shared some of your, background and journey. Could you share just a little bit more about yourself and, some of your background?
Sure. I am from Dayton, Ohio, born and raised here. Like you said in the bio, a lot of my childhood was spent in foster care, going through the system, and dealt with a lot of issues with self-love and worthiness when you don't have your parents in your life. And I was able to really cling to education at that time. And so throughout my career as just a student and throughout college, it was really important for me to just be successful academically. And one of the things that I missed in being successful academically were some major life lessons. And part of my journey has been learning that while education is extremely important, accomplishments are extremely important, just learning not to value myself by education and by accomplishments and really learn who I am so that I can be true and authentic to myself. And so that's like a very quick synopsis of my journey. And now I'm a retired school principal, and so now I share that message of empowerment through my Death of a Lie program, which you talked about the play and the book, and I also do that through coaching.
Awesome. So as I mentioned and what you mentioned, you're a wife, a mother, an educator, a leader, an author, life coach, and a survivor. Let's talk a little bit more about the survivor part first. So what defines you as a survivor? Tell our listeners more about your journey.
Well, as a child, I had 7 foster care placements, and I think I was born as a survivor. When my mother was 4 months pregnant with me, my father lost his life in a car accident. And so immediately having to come into the world missing my father and never knowing him. And then my mother, she had some traumatic mental illness happen after that situation happened, where she ended up losing custody of myself and my sister when I was very young. I would say it started at 2, and it really was permanent by 2nd grade. And so in 2nd grade, I was actually in the foster care system in Detroit, which is where she had moved to, and her family was originally from that area. Then we got brought back to Dayton, Ohio to live with my father's mother, my grandmother, and then she ended up passing away from cancer. And so once she passed away, which was in 6th grade, we moved with her sister, who was my great aunt, and she had some battles with mental illness. And so just through all of that trauma, still trying to figure out who I was, what was important, dealing with, some abuse, dealing with some abandonment, all the way through my childhood and bouncing back and forth between group homes, and even family members. I believe that constitutes, having to learn how to survive. And sometimes the ways that we learn how to survive are not always healthy. And so my survival strategy was validation, as I spoke about earlier. And so I never heard my mom and dad say good job. And so when I started to win awards at school for different competitions and math competitions, I didn't realize that, that pretty much defined me, because I didn't get to hear a lot of good jobs, none from my mother and father. And my aunt just was not capable because of her mental illness to really support me. But she was an educator, and so she gave us that value of education, and that was the only thing that I thought that I had. And so I just worked to outperform all the time. And so that was something that I really clung to, and that helped me survive. And also I clung to writing. and performing, I wrote poetry. I always did a poetry competition, just always having to kind of use those coping mechanisms and also seeking that validation from a good job. And so those are some ways as a child that I went through, some survival things, things that helped me, that molded me and shaped me. And then when I got to college, I learned that you needed just more than an education. I learned that survival was just not about education. It was about who you are as a woman and as a person, and I really did not know. I didn't realize that I wasn't taught any of those lessons. I thought the lessons were all academic. And so I had a rude awakening when I started to learn and not know how to express myself in positive ways in college, and education was not helping me be a better woman and a better person and more aligned with who I wanted to be. And so I had to learn how to survive college, not just academically, but socially and personally. And that is where I started to begin to understand who I was and what my value and worth were, way outside of any book or any scholarship or any award. And so that was a big part of my survival in college. Recently, unfortunately, my house was a part of the Memorial Day tornadoes, and our home was severely damaged, and we've been out of our home since the Memorial Day tornado. So, we've become storm survivors. But I just look at it like, I've been through a lot of storms, and this one would nothing is going to be the one that takes me out, because now that I know who I am and whose I am, then my approach to things is a lot different. So I've been blessed to survive a lot of things in my life.
Absolutely. What a journey. I love the fact that you mentioned how you had to understand your value, and then just going through some of the journeys and some of the storms that you've had in your life. I think that truly is just the definition of resilient, and how you've not allowed anything, kind of stand in your way. You just keep moving forward, and you see the blessings through it all. So you also mentioned that you use writing as a coping mechanism. Please share more about what you've written and then some of the inspiration behind it.
Well, thank you for that question. Basically, my aunt was an educator, and she was bipolar before anybody really knew what it was, and before it was like a term that was kind of thrown around. And so with her, she was a wonderful person. She's been gone for a while, and she raised me, and she was very violent to the extreme of being extremely generous and then being extremely violent. And so in my home, I couldn't say much that would not tip her off. And so I had to learn how to journal and to express myself in other ways, and how to escape the situation while still being in the situation. And so one of the tools that she did give me was reading. So she gave me Maya Angelou, she gave me Zora Neale Hurston, she gave me Before the Mayflower. She gave me books and things that had helped her along her journey. And I used to, and she gave me, one of the biggest things that she gave me was a library card. And so that's one place that I knew that I was safe. I love to read. I read for colored girls when I was just 12 years old, and back then I got the record, right? So I had the record, and I would play the record, and in my mind I always thought, I want to do what she's doing. This is amazing. I want to be who she is, and I want to do what she's doing. So I was very impressed with what she was doing, and so I began to journal. Like if she was telling her story that way, and then Maya Angelou, Before the Caged Bird Sings, was telling her story that way, then it allowed me to see myself as one of those ladies and begin to write. And so that started my journey to writing, to express myself. So I had a classroom assignment, and that's when rap was really prevalent early in the late 80s. I'm telling all of my age. But I wrote for my assignment, I ended up writing a rap, but I said it was a poem. And so I really enjoyed being able to tell my story about some little boy who didn't like me and called me a giraffe, right? That was so serious in those days. And I was able to write and express that. And then after that, I was like, oh, I like the way that feels, so let me start a journal. And then I started to write in my journal, and then I was like, I like to create. I love poetry, and so that's really what started me writing, was being able to tell my story the way that the ladies that I was reading about was telling their story. And then I learned that this is helping you to get it out. This is helping you express it. So I didn't continue so much journaling, but I continued to write through poetry about my experiences in life, about how I was feeling, how I was coping, even what I hoped for, not just personal situations, but what I hoped for. And then I even started writing about other people's situations at times to help them express themselves. And so writing became a positive outlet that allowed me to tell my story in a creative way.
I love that. I am a big advocate for journaling. So I absolutely love that. Oh, that's truly amazing because, as you mentioned, when you think about journaling, and, I was one of the little girls that had, the diary that I would write in, and, that I would write in and write my feelings and everything else. And, for you to take that and not just, journal your feelings, but start using it as a tool to not just help yourself, but also then eventually help others. So I really love that. And then during your tenure at a dropout recovery school, you and your team assisted over 500 students in achieving their goal of graduating from high school. How awesome is that? What are some of the techniques and methods that you use to encourage the students to stick with it and to stay in school?
The first thing is I believed in my students. I believed in them, and I believed in the mission. And the mission was to show them that they could accomplish not just graduating from high school, but they could succeed at life. And so I truly believe that mission because I lived that story. I was not a dropout recovery student for high school, but I almost was for college. And so I truly believed in them, and I knew that they could do it. And so that was the first step for the staff was, why are we here and what do we believe about our students? And it's not just what we can teach them academically, because I believe in social emotional learning. And so we taught them our job as educators is to teach, mentor, redirect. All of that has to matter in terms of a cycle of what we're responsible for. So I had an amazing board, and I was able to provide my students with experiences to go to conferences outside. We linked up with the Urban League. They served as ushers in local community events. We focused on resilience. We focused on stewardship. We focused on lifelong learning. And so we had embedded those messages throughout their educational curriculum, and we were able to give them a real-life, well-rounded curriculum. And so we brought people in from the community. We linked with businesses, so when they did presentations, they did real-world presentations, and we never treated them as though they were somewhere that they shouldn't want to be. They came into a real school with real expectations, with real results. And we were a family. And so because they learned that people cared about them, loved them, and believed in them no matter where they had come from, we were able to help them see beyond their situation and circumstances to see themselves as a viable member of the community, not just a high school graduate.
Absolutely, and I think that is so important. I think often, a lot of our kids just really want someone that's going to believe in them, no matter what their, whatever their home life is or whatever it is that they have been through in their journey and their situation. They need someone that's really going to listen, that really shares that they care and love for them and, truly just going to believe in them. So I think that's awesome. So I also shared in your bio that you had been recognized by several different organizations. Could you talk a little bit more about some of those?
Sure. Well, even though I've learned to put it in perspective, I've always loved to serve, and I always love to be a part of things that are going on that are of excellence and celebrate excellence. And so some of the opportunities that I've been blessed to have put me in positions to recognize excellent service and work, which is my goal in anything that I do, is to do it in honor of God and to do it in excellence and to serve. And so with the Urban League, I was the president of the Urban League right before I became a principal, and they had a national chapter award where you had to submit the activities and things that you were doing in the community. And so we were able to put that package together because we offered a lot of great events. And at that time, before the Urban League closed in Dayton, it was really thriving. And so we were able to win Chapter of the Year on a national level, which was an absolute awesome accomplishment for us just from this area, competing with chapters that were larger but producing the same level of support and service in the community. And so that was one of the things that I was a part of. The Rotary Club acknowledged the work that I was doing as principal of Dayton Business School, and they were really – we had a lot of business connections, and the Rotary deals with business connections. Our students went to the Engineers Club. They were part of the Urban League. Our students linked up with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and so they were celebrating some of those different things that the school had done and partnerships that we had done to help our students have that well-rounded education. Also, during the time that I was there, my staff and I were able to have a 76% retention rate. So 76% of our students that enrolled in college stayed, which was awesome. So that just goes to show you that the messages that we were trying to promote in them they were actually taking, and they were taking advantage of those things. So I was really blessed for that. And then the Women in Business, I did not mention that, but this year I was nominated to be a top 25 woman to watch in business here in Dayton by the Better Business Bureau. And that's an award for people who women who have their own businesses that are making strides in business, and they select women that they want to celebrate. So there are 25 of us that are a part of that class, which is awesome. It's allowed me to do some great networking, and I've been in business for myself full-time for 2 years, so that's been a great opportunity. And lastly, the Montgomery County Artist Opportunity Grant was crazy because I met someone who said, you should just apply for that. I was seeking an opportunity to do one thing, and then they said, well, what you're trying to do, you should just apply for that. And I did. I applied for it in the 11th hour very quickly, and right. And then I was like, I wanted to continue to promote the message of my book. Also, that little girl in me she applied, really. I didn't. She snuck and applied is how I feel, but to turn that book into a play. Because I was like, why did I do that? So I actually got that grant, I was not, I've applied for a lot of things, and I was very surprised that I got the grant to do that. And so I just look at it like full circle to what's really in you. If you allow it, will always manifest and come forward.
Absolutely. What some amazing accomplishments. So, Olive, you just mentioned some amazing accomplishments. What would you say was your greatest accomplishment?
Oh, that's a tough one. I didn't get this question before. My greatest accomplishment is being present and being a sound mind and still being grateful. I think, and I know that's three things, but I think it's a combination. I think gratitude is my gratitude for the life that I have, gratitude for the journey, gratitude for the situations that I've encountered, gratitude for what's yet to come. And so that's my greatest accomplishment, is to still work to remain grateful no matter what. Because I believe that if I remain grateful no matter what happens, then I can still be present. And if I'm present, then that's another opportunity to enjoy my life. And so I've worked I've learned in the last 5 or 6 years through the different things that I've gone through that gratitude is huge. Just being grateful to God, being grateful to my husband, being grateful for my children, being grateful for this conversation and opportunities really helps me stay focused. So no matter if I never win another award, will I still be grateful for the opportunity to have this life, this journey as myself? And so I would say being grateful is my biggest accomplishment.
Absolutely. So if you could change anything about your past, what would you change and why?
If I could change anything about my past, I think that I know that your journey makes you who you are, right? And I know that and I won't call it cliche because I believe people genuinely do believe that everything happens for a reason. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I might not understand what that is. But if I could change anything about my past, I think I would change my understanding of validation. I think that seeking acceptance, seeking acknowledgement outside of yourself is very dangerous for many different reasons in terms of the circumstances and situations that you allow yourself to be in if you don't know who you are. And yes, those things had to happen in order for me to be here to share my journey so that I can help others. But I would definitely tell that little girl that you had everything that you needed, you always did. And it doesn't come in a box. It doesn't come in an award. It doesn't come in a man. It doesn't come in a job. It doesn't come in a salary. It's just your existence and your being is enough.
That's good. I love that. I absolutely love it. Very empowering for our listeners. Absolutely. So what would you say a day in the life of Phillitia looks like?
Hilarious. I'm laughing because right now, a day in the life of Phillitia is lots of phone calls, lots of management in terms of what's next, what are you doing right now. So a day in the life of Phillitia would be a really valiant attempt to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and go work out, which used to not be an issue. That used to be my thing. But recently I have not been as consistent. So I get up at 5:30. I also start with a prayer, just being thankful, even if it's just thanking God for waking up in the morning, just staying focused before I start clicking on buttons on my phone, try to say, hey, God, thank you. I'm here. I appreciate it. Another day, another opportunity. I do a lot of networking, which is the great way that I met you. So I'm very purposeful in my connections and my relationships with people. I have a social media platform and profile that I have to pay attention to. Right now I'm doing my play, and so I have rehearsals from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I cook dinner for my family. That's really important to me. That's a language of love because I want them to know that I'm never too busy to love on them. So twice a week I cook dinner for them. And then if I'm home, I get my Jeopardy. We compete in Jeopardy. We've been doing it for years. I usually win, but I'm a little rusty because I've been working on this play. And so they've been practicing and kind of beating me there. Coming home and checking in with my son. If I haven't checked in with him earlier in the day, very purposeful in talking to him, seeing his face and connecting with him, asking him what he needs, how his day was, and listening for the answers. And talking to my daughter who's in college. She calls about 5 times a day, so we don't have an issue there. And everything she wants is very important. So that's another thing. And then also coming home and debriefing from my day. So it usually takes me from 9 to 11 o'clock to really unwind and stop. And right now. And then I start all over again. But just also sitting down, really, once again, back to that gratitude piece at the end of the day of saying, wow, you're working on the things that you once thought about.
Absolutely. And so I have to share because it was quite interesting how we connected. I think it was on LinkedIn. And we had planned to, I think we already had a date set as far as connecting and meeting, and then we happened to be at the same a networking event, and was like, wait a minute. I think we've connected already. So absolutely. It was very awesome to be able, to connect with you. And I'm looking forward to, attending the play that you have coming out. Absolutely amazing. And then I love the fact that you mentioned that you love Jeopardy, because I love playing games with kids and the family, and I'm very competitive. So I understand. I understand when you say they're trying to brush up and, and make sure that they're ready for when you come back and say, hey, let's play Jeopardy. And Jeopardy is one of my favorites, too. So definitely understand that. Yes, such a busy day. And I know, things change and, whether it's phone calls or however, but I know definitely, as an entrepreneur, every day could be different. But absolutely amazing. So we both know just how important it is to mentor and coach others. What has been your experience as a mentor and as a mentee, and how would you say it has impacted your business?
As a mentor, my experience has been to just be purposeful with what you're committed to, and make sure, or with whom you're committed to, rather, because we're talking about people. Just be purposeful in that, and know that you're guiding, and just being able to separate the mentoring from the coaching, because your mentors are really seeking the guidance, but they need the room to figure out how it fits in their life. Your coaching, people are asking for that. That's a different situation. So just knowing as you mentor people that they might take your advice and utilize it differently than you intended, which might not be wrong, or they might not be able to see where you're going with it, and just being okay with being a guide versus being the answer. As a mentor is what I've learned. And it makes it a lot easier to still maintain a positive relationship with the person that you're mentoring, instead of doing a get-you-gotcha system where I told you what to do, you didn't do it, now this happened. It's like, no, you're not a military sergeant, you're a mentor, and you're guiding someone who is still able and capable of getting there. Your journey is to listen and to work to support and make the journey easier. As a mentee, I have been blessed with some amazing mentors. They have taught me in my business journey, just look at the details matter. Being purposeful matters. Being intentional matters. Setting concrete goals that are not ambiguous matters. And checking those goals. I've learned that, just making sure that whatever you set, make it tangible and check it. And don't be afraid if you don't miss it. Be open enough. They teach you to be bold enough to have the conversation, to work through what happened so that you can still continue to get better. And so I've had some really great, successful women in business and men actually, that are really open with showing me, this is how I'm doing this, this is what I'm doing, and I'll show you whatever I can to help you not make some of the mistakes that I've made. And I'm so grateful for that.
Awesome. Absolutely. So the empowerment quote for today is, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that. Because what the world needs is people who are alive, by Howard Thurman. Please share with the listeners what this quote means to you.
Well, in this moment, right at this second, that is so on time for me, because right now, while I'm speaking with you, the play that I began to write as a 12-year-old little girl is actually being rehearsed. There are cast members. The thing that God put in me is actually manifesting right during this call, and that is so amazing to me, that things line up that keep you alive. And I had been sitting on this forever, not believing that I was ready, not knowing all of the steps, and it really hurt me. It hurt a lot emotionally to have this dream inside, but not believe in myself enough to bring it forth. And so now I feel completely alive. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being alive, but in this moment, just to know that I was enough when I thought that I wasn't, and I am present, and I have cleared my schedule I have the time allotted to actually feel and breathe something that I believe in, that I believe can help girls and women across the world. And for it to actually be happening at this moment, I feel more alive than I ever have.
Absolutely. Isn't that exciting? I think that's awesome. I love when, I'm able to hear other people tell the stories where they've jumped and pretty much built their wings on the way down. We all try to strive to stay out of that comfort zone or, stick out of that comfort zone. But, it's so tough, as you mentioned, just to do it and then believe that you can do it. So that's absolutely amazing. Excuse me. What is the best advice you would say that you have received, and who gave it to you?
The best, I've received so much advice. I've been very blessed with angels on earth. The best advice that I have received, just have faith. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a cliche way, because I used to get frustrated when people would tell me things like that, like have faith, it'll all work out, just believe. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how do you just do that? Mm-hmm. I think that meaning have faith that when you take action, that something positive can and will manifest from it. I think that's the best advice that I've received with faith, is that you're not going to know everything before it happens, but you still have to believe. Everything is not going to line up, but you still have to believe. You don't have all the answers at the moment that the vision is brought to you, but you still have to believe. And so that is the message that has resonated when things don't work out right, when they're not going well, when plans mess up, when things kind of seem disheveled or out of place, continuing to believe and have the faith that, yes, it looks like this right now, but it won't always look like this. And that allows you to continue on your journey. So that's the biggest inspirational message that I've received.
Absolutely. And what would you say is the one piece of advice you would give our listeners on how they can empower their own growth and success journey?
Surround yourself with people who believe in empowerment, and understand that the person that can empower you the most is yourself. So I think that it's really important for you to do your work and to work on yourself. Like, you have your quote of the day, which is amazing. You journal. These are all things that you don't necessarily need other people to do. You can listen to your empowerment YouTube video for free. You can go get a book that you're interested in and do Audible books. And those are kind of my slow journey in shifting my mindset, was to empower myself. Start to do the things that you heard about and not expect it always to be in someone else. You're responsible for your mind shift. You're responsible for people you spend your time with. You're responsible for toxic relationships. And so be accountable to yourself, not for what everybody else did to you, but for what you are doing to yourself. Because if you got there, then there's some things in you that you're going to be responsible for that are going to help you shift to move forward to where you truly want to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. So please share with the listeners what's coming up on the horizon for you.
My play, The Death of a Lie, the Death of a Lie stage play is coming up in Dayton, Ohio, November 16th at the Dayton Arts Institute at 2 p.m. And I am on social media at The Death of a Lie on Facebook and on Instagram. And so tickets for that can be purchased there. 100 of those tickets will be given to at-risk youth and foster care families. So I'm so excited about that. So that's November 16th. And that is the main thing that I'm focusing on. I also have empowerment workshops that will be coming up in December. So I'll have I usually do my signature 4 lies that professional women tell themselves that keep them stuck, empowerment workshop. So that date will be coming up in December. And I'm also adding a new workshop about how to turn your book into a play, because I've been getting a lot of questions about how this is done and how to do it. And after November 16th, I'm sure that I will have a whole lot to specifically share about this journey, about how to market your book, how, if you're interested in turning it into a screenplay, what does that look like, and then help people and assist them on that journey too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for, sharing your amazing story and journey. So please take the time and share with the listeners on how they can stay connected with you and support your efforts.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Your listeners can stay connected with me at charlton.com. That is my website. It has information on upcoming events, what we do with our coaching and consulting business and speaking, opportunities for me to come speak. Also, I'm on Facebook at The Death of a Lie. I'm on Instagram at The Death of a Lie. And also, if listeners want more information and want to be added to the email list, they can just text 937-995-0900. Text "add me" to 937-995-0900.
Awesome. It has truly been an honor and a pleasure to have you as a guest on the show. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to give me the opportunity to interview you. I wish you much success and blessings as you continue on your journey.
Thank you, and I love your platform and your program, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. So, listeners, thank you for tuning in to tonight's show with our special guest, Phillitia Charlton. Phillitia shared her amazing story and journey to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. And she also told us to make sure you surround yourself with people who believe in empowering you and understand the person who can empower you is you. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, starting your own radio show or low-cost advertising highlighting your book, business, or events, please email envisionb@empoweronpurpose.com. Please tune in next week where you will hear an amazing story and journey from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the EmPower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journeys in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to be your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit EmPowerOnPurpose.com. And remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.